Monitor Leader, August 9, 1945. The whole roof falls in on Japan. 1. Stalin sends his powerful Red Army crashing into Jap-held Manchuria. 2. Second atom bombing of Japan levels great naval base at Nagasaki. 3. 1,200 American fighters and bombers sweep northern Honshu cities. 4. British and American warships shell great Japanese steel city of Kamaishi. New atom raids jolt Nippon. Deadly weapon rips Nagasaki. By Mullen Spencer, Guam. August 9, AP. The world's most destructive force, the atomic bomb, was used for the second time against Japan today, striking the important Kyushu island city of Nagasaki with observed good results. More than one bomb may have been dropped in the second attack, and it might have been of a different size than the first one, which destroyed 60% of Hiroshima. The carefully worded communiqué said only that the second use of the atomic bomb had occurred, leaving to speculation all other details. The bomb was dropped at noon, Japanese time, about 9 hours after Red Army troops supported Russia's declaration of war on Japan by attacking enemy forces in eastern Manchukuo, both by land and by air, and while 4 other Japanese cities still burned from round Theklock B, 29 incendiary and demolition attacks. Time to reflect. The Japanese had had time to study the devastation wrought at Hiroshima, where their ported practically every living thing was destroyed as the world's first mighty atom wrecked 60% of that city of 343,000 Monday. Nagasaki, western Kyushu seaport and railroad terminal with an estimated 255,000 population in its 12 square miles, was a far more important military target. General Spaatz, U.S. Army Strategic Air Force Headquarters, said Nagasaki, with its houses jam-packed, probably was even more vulnerable to an atom bombing. The wording the first official announcement did not preclude the possibility that more than one bomb was dropped, speaking of the second use of the atomic bomb. Calm down, it's not that bad. By Howard W. Blakesley, Associated Press Science Editor, New York, August 9, AP. The public jitters now spreading concerning the perils of the atomic bomb are not justified, either by the official facts from Washington or by the scientific records of the discovery. It is a scientific fact that the energy in the complete explosion of 1 pound of uranium could blow the Empire State Building 20 miles into the air. It is possible, as unofficially reported, that 11 pounds of uranium are used in the present atomic bomb. But it also appears certain from the scientific records up to the time of the blackout, from the actual reported performances of the bomb, and from Washington's official descriptions that not all the uranium explodes. Minute fraction. Scientists started with an explosion which released less than 1% of uranium's explosive power. It is unlikely that they have done much, if any. See debunked. Page 2. Truman on Air Tonight, Washington. August 9, AP. President Truman reports to the nation tonight on the war situation. His half-hour address over all radio networks will begin at 10 o'clock Eastern Wartime. When the address first was scheduled, it was expected to be chiefly a report on the Potsdam meeting of the Big Three, with some mention of the new atomic bomb. Now Mr. Truman is expected to discuss also Russia's declaration of war on Japan. Atom spies do quick shift, cross-up experts. Washington, August 9, AP. The FBI said today that 5 German spies sent to the United States after 1939 to learn of atomic bomb developments were persuaded to double-cross the Nazis and work as counter-espionage agents. Several of the spies were intercepted in Europe and South America en route to this country and made double agents before they launched any espionage activities for the Nazis, an FBI spokesman said. He would not disclose their names. As a result of American alertness, the FBI said, no sabotage of any kind was committed in an atomic plant. The German agents carried, see Spies, page 2.
The Key West Citizen, August 9, 1945. Japanese now ready to surrender. Second atomic bomb dropped on Japan, used on Nagasaki. Radio Tokyo remains silent about attack. Told of other raids from air. By Associated Press. Guam, August 9th. A second atomic bomb has been dropped on Japan, this time on Nagasaki, an industrial city of 260,000 in the province of Kyushu, the southernmost of the Japanese main islands. The area of Nagasaki is 12 square miles. The report did not say what was the extent of the damage, and it is not expected that an official announcement will be made of the havoc caused in Nagasaki until tomorrow. Radio Tokyo today was silent about this latest attack by an atomic bomb, but it told about other attacks from the air. Yesterday, 300 superforts bombed for more of the cities that the Japs have been told will be attacked, and 1,200 American and British planes from the fleet commanded by Admiral Halsey blasted various other cities. The fleet was reported off Japan's eastern shore, and yet only 2 Jap planes attempted to attack it. Both of them were shot down by American flyers while they were still far off from any warship.
The Waterbury Democrat, August 9, 1945. Second atomic bomb obliterates Nagasaki, city of 360 Japs. NIP's 11th largest city destroyed, entire population may be wiped out, details meager. By William F. Tyree, United Press war correspondent. Guam, August 9, UP. Preliminary reports indicated that the second atomic bomb to be dropped on Japan all but obliterated Nagasaki, a major naval base and Japan's 11th largest city, during the noon rush hour today. Crew members of the superfortress which loosed the terrifying bomb on Nagasaki watched the earth-shaking explosion and flashed back to Gen. Carl A. Spaatz, commander of the Strategic Air Forces, that results were good. No further details will be available until the mission returns, Spaatz said in a brief communiqué. Virtually disappeared. But to all hands that brief report results good, indicated that Nagasaki, a city of 252,630 persons, virtually had been blown off the map of Japan by an explosion equal to that which leveled 4 1/10 square miles of Hiroshima, target of the first atomic bombing raid last Monday. Radio Tokyo was silent on the results of the Nagasaki attack. Only yesterday, however, it told how searing flames and horrible concussion blasted and burned to death every living thing within range in the Hiroshima raid. Tokyo admitted that, even 4 days after the mighty atomic explosion in Hiroshima, it was impossible to assess fully the devastation wrought by the bomb. Bodies burned beyond recognition and too numerous to count still remained in the ruins. American experts computed the completely destroyed area of Hiro, continued on page 4. Catholic paper assails bomb. London, August 9, UP. The Catholic Herald, under the heading Utterly Indefensible, today denounced the use of the atomic bomb. The use of such a weapon, the atomic bomb, we hold, is not only utterly indefensible in itself, but the reaching of this appalling goal lights up for us all the immorality along the path we have all been treading. The Pope, of course, was right all the time. Not by merely attempting to internationalize or control this weapon, but by repudiating all warfare and destroying its instruments can safety now be sought.
Imperial Valley Press, August 9, 1945. Atomic bomb wipes out second NIP city. Missile hurled on Nagasaki, scatters death. Guam, August 9, UP. Preliminary reports indicated that the second atomic bomb to be dropped on Japan all but obliterated Nagasaki, a major naval base in Japan's 11th largest city, during the noon rush hour Thursday. Crew members of the superfortress which loosed the terrifying bomb on Nagasaki watched the earth-shaking explosion and flashed back to Gen. Carl A. Spaatz, commander of the Strategic Air Forces, that results were good. No further details will be available until the mission returns, Spaatz said in a brief communiqué. But to all hands, that brief report, results good, indicated that Nagasaki, a city of 252,630 persons, virtually had been blown off the map of Japan by an explosion equal to that which leveled 4 1/10 square miles of Hiroshima, target of the first atomic bombing raid last Monday. Radio Tokyo was silent on the results of the Nagasaki attack. Only Wednesday, however, it told how searing flames and horrible concussion blasted and burned to death every living thing within range in the Hiroshima raid. Still burning. Tokyo admitted that, even 4 days after the mighty atomic explosion in Hiroshima, it was impossible to assess fully the devastation wrought by the bomb. Bodies burned beyond recognition and too numerous to count still remained in the ruins. American experts computed the completely destroyed area of Hiroshima with 313,000 population. Japan's 7th largest city at 60% of the built-up area. An even greater percentage of Nagasaki probably was razed. Nagasaki lies on the western coast of Kyushu, southernmost of the Japanese home islands, approximately 175 miles southwest of Hiroshima. In addition to its important Navy yard, Nagasaki is crowded with shipyards, aircraft factories, steelworks, aircraft plants, and electric works of the octopus-like Mitsubishi Industries. The city was damaged slightly in early raids by China-based superfortresses, but escaped the destruction that has been rained on the enemy homeland since the 20th Air Force came of age with large bases in the Marianas. Want fair play? Powerless to halt the atomic bombing raids, Japan was crying out in horror against them and indirectly pleading for withdrawal of the weapon in the name of humanity and fair play. Men, women, and children, sick, crippled, or helpless to bomb no mercy as to whom it kills, Radio Tokyo said. From earlier reports, we are certain that Hiroshima was subjected to the most inhuman and barbaric act yet to be reported in the annals of America. New leaflet showers call on Jap people to revolt. Manila, August 9th, UP. Millions of leaflets calling upon the Japanese people to revolt against their leaders and sue for peace were dropped on Japan by American planes Thursday. The leaflet barrage coincided with Russia's entry into the Pacific War and the dropping of a second atomic bomb on the enemy homeland. It supplemented around-the-clock radio warnings from American propaganda stations in the Pacific to Japan to surrender, to save herself from utter destruction. Allied propagandists believed Japan might be ripe for surrender. Soviet Foreign Commissar V.M. Molotov revealed Wednesday night that peace was in her mind when he said that Tokyo had asked Moscow to mediate with the Western allies for her. But the allies, Russia now included, will accept only Japan's unconditional surrender. Liberators, Mitchells, and invaders from the Okinawa-based Far Eastern Air Forces carried the surrender leaflets. Surrounded by a ring of steel, the Japanese people must take action to avoid the utter destruction of their country, the leaflets said. Will you continue to allow the militarists to drag you and your ancestral country to utter ruin? The leaflets, only slightly larger than postcards, were printed secretly by Gen. Douglas MacArthur's psychological warfare branch in anticipation of Russia's declaration of war. The front of the leaflets shows giant American and Russian soldiers clasping hands over the Japanese home islands. The powerful Soviet Union now has joined the war against Japan, the leaflet said. This means that Japan now will be compelled to meet much of the combined armed might of the entire world. Tokyo gives hint of major event. San Francisco, August 9th, UP. Domei, Japanese news agency announced at 12:15 a.m. Friday, Tokyo time, 8:15 a.m. PWT, that its transmitters would remain open throughout the night for an expected special announcement. An hour later, however, Domei had not transmitted any news of importance, and there was no hint of the nature of the special announcement. Frequently, in the past, Domei has instructed its overseas editors and clients to stand by for transmission schedule changes. Thursday, it admonished its listeners to stand by. The broadcast was recorded by United Press in San Francisco. Earlier, Domei told its clients to watch for an important announcement to be carried in subsequent transmissions, but at that time, it did not say that its transmitters would remain open. Jap scientists saw start of Atomic Project Berkeley, California, August 9th, UP. Japanese scientists had an opportunity with other nations in the race to develop atomic power. Dr. Ernest O. Lawrence disclosed Thursday that two groups of Nipponese savants twice visited his original atom-smashing cyclotron on the University of California campus. The visits occurred before Pearl Harbor, when the lay world looked upon atom-smashing as an experiment in pure science. The Japanese saw only an early atom-smashing machine, not the new and bigger 4,900-ton cyclotron, which played a vital part in developing the atomic bomb. The groups came from the University of Tokyo to examine the atom smasher in 1938 and again in 1940 or 1941. Lawrence, Nobel Prize winner and inventor of the cyclotron, said. Experts from other nations also were allowed to inspect the mechanism. Workers at atomic plants still forbidden to talk. Richland, Washington, August 9th, UP. Employees of the Hanford Atomic Bomb Project still are forbidden to discuss their individual jobs even with each other, despite revelation of the destruction they have helped pour on Japan. Walter O. Simon, plant manager of the project for the DuPont Co., said Thursday the security lid still was on for the workers until they are specifically released from their pledge by the company. Meanwhile, newsmen completed a carefully conducted tour of the ghost town of Hanford and saw from a respectable distance the 7 principal plants in 3 production areas, which are separated by miles of fenced-in and guarded sagebrush and sand. There is no sign of human life in the plant areas except for a few guards at the gates. Workers inside toiled by remote control on unseen materials scheduled to bring almost unbelievable devastation to Japan. Simon explained that each worker still is supposed to know only his own job. They were told Wednesday in a telegram from Undersecretary of War Robert P. Patterson that the need for security and for continued effort is fully as great as it ever was. The warlords of Japan now know its effects better even than we ourselves, Patterson said. Simon, the No. 1 civilian on the project, where civilians outnumber Army men 10-1, said the need for secrecy posed delicate problems early in the work when DuPont had to summon scientists and technicians from many of its plants. Once a year, they were asked to warn their families in hometowns across the nation to avoid mentioning their new addresses. The plants themselves, despite their apparent isolation, impressed newsmen as not unlike other industrial plants they had seen. The buildings are long, low and gray with high water tanks and smokestacks. There is a tower 450 feet high standing by itself. Its purpose was not explained. In the town of Hanford, which cost $17 million to build, humans are outnumbered by goats left behind by some of the original Hanford residents. Quonset and Pacific huts that quartered 17,000 residents, as well as all furniture and strategic equipment, have been salvaged, officials explained.
Detroit Times, August 10th, 1945. New city wiped out. Second atom. Nagasaki smashed. Guam, August 9th, INS. A second atomic bomb was dropped on Japan today, apparently obliterating the naval base and shipbuilding center of Nagasaki, 145 miles southwest of Hiroshima, where the terrifying weapon of annihilation killed an estimated 150,000 persons Monday. A United Press dispatch quoted unnamed American experts as estimating that the damage to Nagasaki was greater than that caused at Hiroshima. At Hiroshima, an area of 4.1 miles was wiped out. Their estimates that the damage at Nagasaki exceeded that caused by the first atomic bomb raid probably was based on the fact that targets and other war industries are more closely crowded at Nagasaki. Jens Spatz, Chief of the Army Strategic Air Forces, declared that crew members of the lone superfortress, which dropped the atomic bomb for the second time, flashed word back from the scene of destruction that results were good. No further details will be available until the mission returns, Spatz said. The revolutionary missile of death was dropped on Nagasaki, a western Kyushu city of 253,000 population, at noon, just 75 hours after Hiroshima on the southern shore of Honshu was devastated at 9:15 a.m. Monday. 12 miles on harbor. There was no specific mention in the official announcement whether only one atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, which lies 12 miles along Nagasaki harbor. It was believed, however, that the key shipping and naval center received only one of the awesome weapons since the lone atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima caused almost indescribable destruction and death. Nagasaki was a vitally important center to Japan. Troops supporting the Jap operations in China, Formosa, and Southeast Asia were deployed through the port, which also received supplies from the stolen Jap Empire. The ruin and death in Hiroshima were much greater than any claims of the Army's Strategic Air Forces headquarters on Guam, Tokyo declared. SILE reconnaissance photographs were awaited on that continued on page 2, call 5. 30 days for Japs. Washington, August 9th, INS. High military authorities predicted today that Japan would surrender unconditionally within 20 to 30 days. These authorities are convinced that entry of Russia's 10 million fighting men and huge air force into the conflict, together with the cataclysmic destructive effect of the atomic bomb, is virtually certain to bring the Second World War to a speedy end. The utter destruction of two of Japan's most important cities and military bases by atomic bombs has literally brought Japan to her knees, in the opinion of Washington. The extent of Japan's desperation was illustrated by a revelation that Emperor Hirohito had approached Russia last month in an effort to obtain Soviet mediation of the war. Truman calls bomb parley. Washington, August 9, INS. President Truman today called a meeting of the nation's highest atomic bomb experts and production heads. The group summoned to the White House included Secretary of State Burns, Secretary of War Stimson, Dr. Vannevar Bush, head of the government's basic scientific research during the war, Dr. James B. Conant of Harvard, George L. Harrison, special consultant to Stimson, and Maj. Gen. Leslie Groves, in charge of Army production of the atomic bomb. Mr. Truman will broadcast a report of the Potsdam Conference over all U.S. radio networks at 10 tonight.
The Onslow County News and Views, August 10, 1945. Soviets invade Manchuria, atom bomb hits Nagasaki. Good results. Guam, AP. The world's most destructive force, the atomic bomb, was used for the second time against Japan, striking the important Kyushu island city of Nagasaki with observed good results. More than one bomb may have been dropped, and it might have been of different size than the first, which destroyed 60% of Hiroshima. Nagasaki, western Kyushu seaport and railroad terminal with 225,000 population and 12 square miles, was a far more important military target than Hiroshima. Discuss atomic bomb. Washington, AP. President Truman Thursday called in top military, diplomatic, and scientific advisors to discuss atomic bombs whose terrific destructive effect twice has been felt by Japan. Down East with Billy Arthur. Frankly, I don't understand why all the fuss about the new atomic bomb and its fury. I know several people who are married to red-headed women. Then, there's all the talk about the energy it generates. Have you ever been shoved around in the grocery store when the meat truck comes in? We were just wondering the other day if that atomic bomb hadn't been dropped on some of our local barbers about 3 years ago. And we wondered also if it were actually powerful enough to move Randall Tolman off the courthouse lawn benches. 4 Onslowans helped produce atomic bomb at Oak Ridge. At least 4 Onslow County people played a part, however large or small, in the development and production of the horrible atomic bomb that was employed for the first time against Japan last Saturday. They were Lee Jones, Fred Bell, and Robert and Kenneth Pittman, all of Swansboro, who have been working at the Oak Ridge, Tennessee more than a year. Robert Pittman is home at Swansboro on a visit this week. So extreme was the secrecy surrounding the vast Oak Ridge reservation that the men are fed, housed, and entertained in the secluded area to keep them away. They were kept uninformed about what they were producing, and, in fact, they never saw anything they produced. The site was chosen because of its remoteness and isolation and of its accessibility to water power. A vast acreage was acquired 3 years ago and all residents evaluated for construction of the reservation.
Imperial Valley Press, August 10, 1945. Japan offers to quit. President tells of agreements of at Potsdam meet. Reveals atomic bomb secret known only to U.S., Britain, Canada. By Robert J. Manning, Washington, August 10, UP. President Truman left bruised and battered Japan with the grim promise Friday of more atomic bombs and more military surprises unless she surrenders immediately. The Japanese have felt only part of the crushing fate that is in store for them if they choose to fight on. The chief executive declared Thursday night in an historic radio report to fellow Americans on the Potsdam Conference. More deadly secrets. The Japs soon will learn some of the other military secrets agreed upon at Berlin, he said. And they will not like them. Mr. Truman vowed that the atomic bomb would continue to be turned on the enemy until the minute of surrender, and he warned Japanese civilians to vacate war industrial centers and save themselves from destruction. He said Japan's past deeds, including her execution of American prisoners, fully justified the decision to use the atomic bomb against those who have abandoned all pretense of obeying international laws of warfare. The president, at the same time, said he was fully aware that the horrible potentialities of the new weapon pose a threat to all man. Continued on page 6, column 3.
The Daily Alaska Empire, August 10, 1945. Japs quit. President in speech to nation warns Japs their cities will be destroyed to end war. Washington, August 10th. Word from Tokyo today that the Japanese want to surrender provided they can save their emperor follows fast on a warning by President Truman to Nippon's people last night to quit their doomed cities and flee for their lives. The president promised an atomic bomb campaign to wipe out Japanese war industry, city by city. Barring surrender, Japanese industries are to be destroyed to shorten the agony of war and to save untold American lives, Mr. Truman said in a broadcast report to the nation last night. That is the determined policy of this government, he declared, even though thousands of enemy civilians who fail to heed the warning will be killed. With this, Mr. Truman coupled assurances to the American people that he realizes fully the terrible dangers the atomic weapon holds for the world future, that he is taking steps to safeguard its use, and that the great objective of his administration is that there shall be no next war. Mr. Truman gave no hint of any Tokyo peace moves. On the contrary, he stressed that previous warnings, notably the ultimatum issued at Berlin, have been scorned. The chief executive described the Berlin political decision he reached with Prime Minister Attlee and Generalissimo Stalin as measures to build a secure foundation for peace, continued on page 7.